I'm Renita Young, host of Your Money Story, right here on Quick Take. And today we have an incredible show for you. For those of you who've been wondering what you should do before you invest, or maybe what you should do before you begin investing beyond your 401k or any other retirement account, you have picked the right day to join in. I'm going to bring in Mahlet Amaha. She's the founder of BlackWomxnAreWealthy here on Instagram. And she is a former ER physician who turned into a financial coach. So we're going to hear just a tad bit about that. And then we'll get to before you invest, do this and her tips. So hang on. Let me bring her on. Should be here just in a moment, folks. Hello. Welcome. How are
Hi.
you today,
I'm
Mahi?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me
Of
on.
course. Thank you for joining on this. What is this? A Wednesday morning. Folks, by the way, we're Wednesdays, everyone, not Fridays anymore. But I've been preparing for this all week. And so, folks, what we're going to talk about is steps that you can take before you begin investing or before you begin investing beyond your retirement accounts. And so, here on Your Money Story, we start with your money story. I know that you are the child of immigrants, both of your parents. They came here from Ethiopia back in the 1970s.
Yep.
They were entrepreneurial, but they had different mindsets when it came to money, right? So, how did you grow up relating to money? What was your relationship like with money growing up?
Yeah, I would say for me, money was well, one thing about money was that it was talked about in my family. Like it wasn't really hush hush. So
Okay.
I grew up understanding money and seeing it as okay, well, it's here and we're supposed to save it. Like my dad would always talk about money in terms of saving it and being careful with it and planning your life, planning your expenses.
Okay.
So it was like something that is there, but we have to be careful with it. So that's how
Okay.
I always saw money growing up. But also, my parents really wanted me to be a physician. And my dad would always say, you're going to have so much money growing up, like when you grow up. And so that like idea of abundance, even though I didn't have it at that time,
Yeah.
was always with me. And I was always like
Hmm.
thinking about it as like, well, I'm going to have a lot of money. So even though I
Okay.
didn't at that time, if that makes sense. So
It does make sense. Yeah. That's
even
probably where you've been able to pull from in recent years, as you've switched. And so, what I'm interested in knowing briefly, you were a physician.
yeah.
Tell us just a tad bit about what motivated you then to completely flip the script and become a financial coach.
Uh, well, putting myself first, really, my mental health and putting myself first, and seeing that, that really wasn't my dream. It was my family's dream.
Okay.
So that is what really helped me switch. It was like seeing that, uh-oh, like I had that quarter life crisis, and I was like,
Yep.
oh, this isn't it for me. So I completely, and what was nice, I completely it was a very abrupt switch, to be honest.
Really.
Yeah. And I didn't go into, being an investing coach right away. That took a lot of time,
Hmm.
but I was just trying to figure out what I wanted, what I wanted out of life. And I realized that, wow, money, I was a saver even as a physician,
Hmm.
even as a resident, which, residents don't make a lot of money, but I saved about half of my income. And
That's
that's
good.
what really gave me that power to leave. Because if I hadn't had that money saved up, I would have been stuck, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So
Hmm.
yeah. And then so over time, when I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I want out of life? Well, that's where I learned about investing and money, and really trying to see that, okay, I really need to understand how money works, how to grow it. And so
Hmm.
that's where the investing aspect came. And I started really falling in love with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great, and that really transformed the way that you did business. not just business, but the way that you ruled your life. Because by that time, of course, you got married and you guys had your first child, and you had started to invest maybe a little bit more aggressively, even. And so we're here to talk about what we should do before we invest.
Yeah.
You both had retirement accounts, your husband as a teacher, now over a department, and you as a physician at the time who switched jobs. But you said that one thing that people may not understand or may not realize is that, yeah, if you have a retirement account, then you are indeed an investor. People don't count that all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so true. I mean, I think that I think people just see it as like contributing to something, and they sometimes they call it saving, like it's saving for retirement. But no, you're most likely investing. But I will say that one thing to do is to check if you actually are investing. Sometimes employers don't really do that for you automatically. So I would say like a tip is to talk to HR and see, hey, like what am I, basically have them connect you to the broker that is dealing with your 401k or 403, and see if you are investing, in fact, and what you're investing in. That's really important too, right? And see if the funds that you're investing in, are they expensive? So looking at the expense ratio would be like important to see like overall, like, am I investing in good funds or not?
And looking at the expense ratio, can you explain exactly what that is
Yeah.
and what number is most advantageous to an investor right now?
Yeah, an expense ratio is basically the maintenance fee of the fund that you're investing in, because investing, especially in funds, it's not free, right? So some funds are very, very expensive. Those are like actively managed funds, and some funds, like index funds, are on the cheaper side, so they're low cost. So it usually comes as a percentage, and it's the percentage of your investments, and that's what you'd be paying every year. So, for example, I would say a good, the lower the better. That's one thing. So, but I would say anything like zero point 0.3, 0.4, or less
Mm-hmm.
is good. So index funds usually tend to be on the lower end. So it'd be like 0.04%, 0.1%. But once you get like upwards of like close to 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, it starts getting more and more and more expensive. More,
Okay,
yeah.
good to know that. And so the next step, I should say, before you invest, do this. You say that people should have an emergency fund. So
Yeah.
tell us why that's important before you begin investing.
I would say it's important because, you would never want to dip into your investments if you had an emergency. So let's say you lose your job, or, your car breaks down. You always want to have something saved up so that you will be okay. And I advocate for something around 3 months. The 3 months, if you're very new to saving, try to save 1 month, and just build up from there. But three
Mm-hmm.
to 6 months is where I say like is a good number to like look for. And
Mm-hmm.
then and yeah, that's basically so that you don't ever like dip into your investments, because that's the last thing you want to do. Because once you have money invested, you really want that money to start working for you. That's what
Right.
it's
And
so
you leave it alone
you
most of the
leave it
time, right?
let
And so, because of that, you also say you need to have a good understanding of your budget too, and probably because you don't want to dip into that either, right? Or dip into your investments to support your lifestyle either, right?
right, that, and also so that you can predict the future. If you understand your money today, you know how much you can invest, or how much you can use to pay off debt,
Mm-hmm.
and you can know how much it would take to actually become financially independent, right? Because that takes knowing your money, your numbers today. So, and that, I talk about that a lot on my page.
You do.
Yeah. So, I'm not going to get into it now, but that is a number that to strive for, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not all on you to get. Like if you're investing, that money, the stock market will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you.
Major investors always say, major investors, that the stock market is the single most important wealth building tool. Um, this has been quoted by several. So next up, which is why you need to create an investment strategy, which you kind of got into a little bit. We know the importance of it, but what's like a very simple thing that people can uh, do to create that very first investment strategy?
Well, yeah, we had talked about it, knowing your numbers. So like just looking at your numbers today, and then after that, it's seeing, okay, like if you do have debt, how if you have high interest debt, really trying to tackle that before you go like really heavy on the investing, right? Tackle
Okay.
the high interest debt, but while you do that, still go for that match if you have a 401k, because that's 100% return on your money. And open up investment accounts. Open up investment accounts, like, because that should be free, right? Open
Mm-hmm.
Throw a little bit in there every month just to get into that habit of investing, so that once you have paid off your debt, your high interest debt, you know exactly where to put that money. You know
Mm-hmm.
exactly where to funnel it next. So creating that type of strategy, I would say if you have a 401k, look into something called an HSA, or a health savings account.
Mm-hmm.
It should be called a health investment account, because people don't know that you can invest through it, which
Okay.
is amazing. And then also, if you can, opening up an IRA. Now, a lot of people talk about Roth IRAs, which I love, but if you are a high income earner, it might be better for you to invest or to open up a traditional IRA, a regular IRA, or traditional IRA. It just depends on your goals, your needs, so, and your income.
Okay. And I wanted to be clear on something you said earlier. You suggest that people should be able to or can invest while they're still paying off debt.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
a big proponent of investing while paying off debt. You can do both. If you have high interest debt, so we're talking like high interest credit card debt, personal loans, um, you can still invest through at least getting that match if you have a 401k. And you can just throw a little bit, like, just to again flex that muscle. Open up an IRA, invest through that, not too much, so that you can really focus on the high interest debt. If you
Mhm.
have student loan debt or something that's more low to mid, I would say you can do both. You can do both, and you should do both.
Okay, we have several folks talking in the comments. Thank you guys so much. I see about that wallet talking to a lot of people. So is Antoinette from Fixing Your
Yeah.
Finances. Thank you, folks, for logging in and for chatting. And so we're about to wrap up briefly. I want to know about your why. What's your why for investing? What's your why for generational wealth? A lot of people have one. You suggest people get one if they don't have one. So what's your why?
Yeah, I think having a why, without it, it's really hard to do anything for the long term, right? So having a why, for me, my why is, I honestly, I don't want to trade active, like, my time for money any longer, and I don't want my husband to do that, and I want to completely change the situation for my lineage, so that they don't have to. They can pursue their passions and it not be related to money. They'll always have money. So that's my why of, being the generational wealth maker. And that's also my why for even creating this page. I want all of us, especially Black women, right? Because we are the, like, pillars of our communities. We're the ones that really, like com- we're the financial, like, holders of our families and communities.
Hmm.
So by teaching all of us how to do that, how to stop actively trading time for money, and then investing so that we can create wealth for,
Hmm.
our communities, like, that's my passion. That's why I'm here. So
That is a beautiful passion. I think that's a beautiful place to end on. Thank you so much for joining. You guys, we really appreciate you. If you want to learn more about Mahi, her fantastic family, and her courses, head on over to the Black Women Are Wealthy Instagram page. And it's not WOMAN, it's WOMXN. And please join us next Wednesday on Your Money Story. We'll be back at 10:30 Eastern. So you guys have a lovely day. Thank you,
for
Mahi.
having me. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.